Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today, my friends at Sideshow have asked me to take a look at this huge thing. It is the Scout Trooper with speeder bike, 6-scale figure set by Hot Toys. I can't wait to see how it turned out.
Greetings. Username authorized.
All right, first up as always is the packaging, and it is a massive beast of a box. It's not your usual 6-scale Star Wars box, although a lot of the elements are similar. So there's really nothing new to see here. This is exactly what we know to look for in a box from Hot Toys or Sideshow based on the Mandalorian. You've got this angled window. There's like dark gray here at the edges, but it angles into blackness, forming an angled frame of a photograph of the figure. That's in the box. And this is a great one. It's a little bit, I wonder if the tones seem to be a little bit weird there to me, but that's fine. It's another worldly thing. Before I move around to the side, let's actually address this cigar band. This is the tone, these warm tones, these orange and yellow hues are what we've come to expect on a cigar band from figures related to the Mandalorian. It's just a little way that Hot Toys has of breaking free of the confines that Disney and Lucasfilm actually have imposed on their license holders to actually just set it off and just give it a little bit more flair. And it works remarkably well. The cool factor of that is that you can use this as a means of organizing your boxes. Like if you were to have a library of 6-scale figures, and I'm not saying that I do, you could organize these things by color tone based on whichever range of figures that they're from. So again, Mandalorian figures, warm tones on the cigar band. You know that when you see that on a shelf, it's gonna be based on Mandalorian. So let's go ahead and rotate around. I want to just show you that does extend around to the side. Again, really cool font choices that they use for these. It's got a very imperial. We're not talking about data. This isn't science, although it could be. But it has a very imperial sort of vibe to it, the font choice that they have on this. At least I'm assuming that it's... Hello?
Hey, good morning there, Hansman's Guy. Colin, how are you this morning?
Hey, Guy. How's it going, man? Yeah. Say hi to everybody. I'm actually recording a video right now for Sideshow for the speeder bike and Scout Trooper. It's so you're on camera with me 2 hours before we were supposed to film an episode of Unsealed and Revealed.
Well, hello everybody. If anybody is going to be able to tell you how to pose this particular trooper, it is Terry Smith.
Awesome,
it's
man.
A fantastic piece, and I know you're going to bring it to life. I will see you a little bit later on today for a new episode of Unsealed and Revealed.
All right, cool, man. Great.
All right, have a great one.
I'll give you a call in a few, man. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Happy posing.
Right on. Bye.
Bye.
Guy always calls me like right before we do an episode of Unsealed and Revealed, so we can talk about the figure. But we've done Spider-Man figures before. Yeah. So, wow, look at that. Look at that. The usual legalese, whodunits, and whatnots that we always have on the back of the boxes is ridiculously understated, to say the least. It's awesome that it is. I really dig that. Just that whole blackness that monopolizes the box, the dominant blackness on the box is just so cool. Come on around here. We have an opportunity because of the cigar, thanks to the cigar band, we have an opportunity here for more of that awesome photography that Hot Toys does for their figures. So that looks really cool. It's Jason Sudeikis. Yeah, little known fact. I think is it Jason Sudeikis? I always confuse him with that other guy. Who's the guy that directed A Quiet Place? I always confuse Jason Sudeikis with that guy. But anyway, pretty sure that Jason Sudeikis is they're probably gonna have me cut that part. But anyway, so that's another great thing about the cigar band is that you're able to, Hot Toys is able to feature more photography, more art on their box than the licensor would, licensor? I always get that confused too. I should really look that up. Then Lucasfilm dictates. So that's a great way around that, and I dig it. But enough talk about the box. We want to see what this figure looks like on the inside. So let's open it up. All right, once you get the box on the table, then just go ahead and grab here. It's basically your typical shoebox thing. You just have to pull it off. And wow, look at that. These are obviously photographs of the figures and the vehicles. This is awesome. The great photography. Something I should point out is that I do have 2 of these. So you can expect at the end of the video that there will be a pair of Biker Scouts, they used to call them Biker Scouts back in the Kenner days. At least that's what I recall. But These days they're just scout troopers, which is fine. Lucas has my approval. I'm sure they're really relieved. But yeah, I'm just really sorry to take so long talking about this, but this was a nice surprise for me. I did not expect to see, I mean, I knew we'd have some sort of an insert, but I just didn't expect it to be this glorious. It's gorgeous. So let's go ahead and take that out and take good care of that, because man, you can almost frame that. Like legitimately almost frame that. I mean, I don't know how many people actually want photographs of toys framed and hanging in their domiciles, but if you do, give me a call, because I've got one or two. Wow, this is cool. I'm just trying to see, let me just, I don't know if you can tell. What I've done here is I have not done what I usually do. I typically open this thing beforehand, take off all the plastic, but I just kind of really wanted you guys to see my actual reaction to this and to see the honest glee on my face, because this is disclosure time. This toy is very dear to my heart. It's one of those that I didn't have. I never had a speeder bike. I had a Scout Trooper, but I never had a speeder bike toy when I was growing up. I did get the sideshow version of this, but it broke. So I've been without, so I took a shelf dive off of like an 8-foot shelf, and just 8-foot shelf. Who has an 8-foot shelf in their house? It was like a 5-foot shelf, whatever. But it felt like 8 feet when it happened. But yeah, so let's go ahead and, you can see that it comes wrapped up, and what I see here is it's 2-layered. You've got the Trooper and Grogu and all the different accessories. You've got his holdout blaster here. You've got his various gloves, including like these that you're going to need to use for the handlebars. You've got fists. You've got, oh yeah, this is going to go on the back. This is what basically would be a grenade on or a thermal detonator or a thermal detonator on a stormtrooper figure. Grogu's there looking adorable, like he's having a good time, as he should. He's on a motorcycle, which, you know, not jealous at all. And this is great. There's an embossed Star Wars logo in the plastic here. And I hope that's showing up in the lighting. But yeah, it's really, really cool attention to detail. Let's go ahead and take this plastic off this guy. Oh, good. The tape isn't really presenting much of an issue. Me and my buddy Paul, oh wait, there it is. Ah, tape, damn it. And I think my cutter is in the other room. I'm gonna go get it. Ah, there we go. Good to go. I fear no tape. Though I walk through the canyon of beggars, I will fear no womp rats, for I bring a cobalt box cutter with me every time. I will fear no scotch tape. First of all, let's just go ahead and start off with what everybody wants to see. How does the child look? Well, it looks a lot like that. Freaking cute, right? Let's see. Not posable. Not posable at all, except for the head. We got 1 point of articulation in the head. Nothing else moves there. Nice, solid, flat feet, so he'll stand on any surface. One assumes that he will be able to rest comfortably and nicely in that bag. I do have an IG-88 figure, IG-11 figure that I have not opened yet, so perhaps I'll open it for the photo session. We'll be able to get some shots of the bike with IG-88 on it. I'm really kind of looking forward to that. Nice texture going on here in the plastic of his outfit. Gives him that downscale look of the fabric that they used on the suit. I'm really kind of smitten by this. All right, but the real star of the show, obviously, is going to be this guy right here, and wow. Looking at it up close, you can just see how on point that weathering is. I mean, and I don't even know if you want to call it weathering, it's just dirtied up. But I guess weathering is an all-encompassing term. I don't know. No one's actually defined this kind of thing. Maybe there's an opportunity there for somebody to actually just create a list of terms that are applicable and universal throughout the 6-scale world. Maybe somebody should do that. I wonder who should do that. Figure, anyway. But let's just look really closely at this. It's really, really on point. They've done a great job of dirtying him up. There's nothing, it looks like, I can tell just looking at the back of the helmet here, that there are just multiple layers of grit and grime that have been added via various techniques. I mean, they didn't just take the lazy way out. They went all in on it. There's multiple tones, multiple hues. This isn't just a quick pass, one and done, where they just kind of said, okay, this looks good. One pass is good enough. No, they didn't do that. They just went all in for it, and I'm grateful for that. Much respect for this. But you can see that it actually goes all the way down into the boots. The boots are very beautiful. Soft, very pliable material. Check. Oh my God, look at that. That's unnatural. That's unnaturally mobile. Look at the range of motion on this. That is a broken ankle right there, ladies and gentlemen. You're never gonna wanna go that deep, but if you did, you could. It's awesome. So anyway, that's pretty much everything that there is to show on this thing. You've got his holdout blaster. You've got his holdout blaster here, which is pretty iconic. And it's found its way into multiple shows. I think we even saw one in Rogue One. That's pretty flat black. Don't expect a whole lot of weathering going on with that. It's pretty basic, but he's either gonna be holding on to it, or it's gonna be holstered right here in his boot. Love that. Nice snug fit on that. You have to like pop it out, yeah, to get it to come out all the way. Just check this out. I just wanna check this piece here to make sure that it's not magnetic. Okay, very clearly not magnetic. There's it is a hook sort of a thing. Okay, you can see also that we have various hands here. I mean, we've got these are obviously because you've got the brake lever fingers. 2 fingers, man. That's how the pros always do it. That just looks like a generic gripping hand here. Let's get that up. Very generic, just gripping hand. So this isn't for that's not for handlebar use. Same here. Oh, you know what this is? That's weird. I'm dumb. But this is actually, this 2-fingered one here, this is actually the blaster pistol hand. I hadn't actually considered that because I'm a motorcyclist and that's actually 2 fingers is how I always gripped my brake levers and my clutch levers. So I just assumed that that's what was going on here, but no, that's a blaster hand. And then I think we're gonna have, yeah, just generic gripping hands left and right. What's going on here? Fists. So you've got fists, you got generic gripping hands, but you also have a sack. Look at this. This is so cool. It's got the Imperial, what we would typically associate with rank badges, but I'm not sure how those things apply to a bag. I don't know if there's an actual purpose behind that. I would love to hear the theories on that, as well as, or possibly some insight from the props department. I love the way they have these little nurnies on there, just kind of military-esque it up. This looks like something that could exist as an everyday satchel in a real world environment. I would love to find out from anybody who knows out there if this is something that you can buy as an actual bag. Did they use some company's bag and then just modded it up for the show? Let me know. Probably not. They've got a lot of talented costume people there. I'm sure that they probably just made a bag from scratch and it looks great and now everybody wants one. Opportunity there for Galaxy's Edge. Let's make it happen. All right, let's go ahead and dig into this because I really want to devote some time to this bike. Okay, wow. This is heavy. Heavier than I expected. There's some heft to this. There has to be some sort of a frame, an armature sort of thing going on in there, which makes sense because flipping it over, yeah, sure enough, there's a place here for the mount. You can see that there's a dynamic figure stand, a short dynamic figure stand. Looks to be about, I'm gonna go with 7 inches in length. And, but look at when we did the Unsealed and Revealed episode for the speeder bike in Scout, Guy talked about the weathering and how impeccable it was. And I couldn't really tell on my preview on my monitor, but I remember my thought being, oh, it's okay. Yeah, it looks fine, whatever. But on my first look at it here in person, wow, it is really, really on point. Just gorgeous. Again, just like with the Scout himself, they did not pull any punches. They did not take any shortcuts. There are multiple passes at weathering this thing here. There's some kind of a greenish hue going on here. I don't know what that is. Well, but I love it. It's just got such character, and it's clearly been through a lot. look at it. Coming out of the back here. It's nicely weathered on the ass end. Look at that. Oh my gosh. All right. On the bottom, there's some weathering going on here as well. So they didn't, yeah, it's light weathering. I can see there's like some ochre or some I don't know, there's some rust coloring going on here. It's probably not coming across in this lighting, but trust me, it's there. And it looks really, really good. You can just see here, like even on the sides right there, there's sort of like a silver metallic bit on the edge that fades into this like reddish warm tone, like almost rust-like on the inside of each one of these panels. This is really cool that this thing is, this thing's movable. I've had experience with the Sideshow Collectibles Speeder Bike and Scout, and having this stuff be posable is going to come in very, very handy given the variety of figures that we're gonna wanna put on this. And I do have a IG-88 that I'm gonna bring into this later on down the line. We got a base here, an environmental base. Nice weathering on this. They really, look at this. There's at least 1, 2, 3 passes at weathering it, because I'm seeing different tones in there as well. So that's good. It took some time. That took a little bit of a time at the factory and cost a little bit of money. Everybody knows this base. I think that they recently redid it, so I don't know if this is the most recent one of it, but I did do a video recently of the squad leader, the Stormtrooper squad leader, or Stormtrooper commander, whatever they're calling it now. And the Stormtrooper feet fit nicely into those holes, so I guess I could check right now, but we'll see later on if I decide to use that and have it stand separately. Last thing to look at here is these control rods, handlebars, whatever you want to call them. Throttle assembly. Well, there's a throttle. Well, that's not the throttle assembly. I know what a throttle assembly is, people. I just flaked there for a second. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot to take in here, and this took a lot of time to explore. So I really am anxious to get it on the table though and pose it, and I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. So let's dive in. All right, once you get that speeder bike assembled, it's really starts to have a lot more presence even than it does in the box. I guess I shouldn't have expected otherwise. It just only makes sense. But anyway, there's a bit more stuff to do with this before I get rolling on the actual pose. So I'm going to move the Scout Trooper out of the way a touch, just for a bit, and move this back in. As you can see, I've already installed one of the handlebars there. And that's good. That was just for practice, but I wanted to go ahead and show you guys how this goes in. There is, in fact, a keyhole. There's a key and a keyhole right here, but you can see that there's a secondary key that's only a semicircle around the diameter, around the perimeter of the actual cylinder that slides in here. And that's to help you key it in specifically to an exact point. So that's gonna work out in our favor, but what you have to do before you do this is raise this little guy up, because this is another connection point here for this metallic. Is this metal? I think that's metal, which is great, because if it's not, it's gonna be really delicate. So you're gonna slide that at least part way into that little area there, and then once you get that into play, then just finagle it until you get it into, there we go, until it goes into its home, and then squeeze it in there nice and snug. This is really a pliable plastic right here. This area right here, you can see that I'm kind of squeezing it there, and that's it's really thin, but it seems really sturdy. It's hard ABS, which is great because that's what's giving us those sharp edges, see? Anyway, I'm thinking that we can pick this up from the top camera there. So I'm just gonna show you there's a little hose, wire, whatever, that slides into a hole right there. And there's another one corresponding to it on this side that I haven't slid into home yet. Ooh, be very delicate with that. Be very careful with that. Don't break it. There we go. Okay, you're home. Very cool. So that speeder bike is now just about fully assembled. So let's, a little bit more dressing to do with this guy. Specifically, we need to get this onto his belt. So I'm gonna pop this off, and maybe we can do it better from the top down. But just kind of, if you press down, because the belt curves, but this does not. I'm wondering if there's a trick to it. Something that I've never, just kind of slide it. Just kind of get one corner of that little clamp down into the belt and on one side, and then slide it across from whichever direction you choose. It's on there nice and snug. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't foresee it popping off anytime soon. So that's good. And then you can have him, he's got this, he can be wearing that over his shoulder if you wanted to have him, like, if you were worried about shelf space, if shelf space was an issue, if you didn't have the clearance to have him up on the bike, but you wanted to have the bike just sitting there and still have him carrying Grogu in the sack, which is what he called it, his words, not mine, then you could just throw this over his shoulder, have Grogu in the bag, and you're done. Bob's your uncle. But that's not what I want to do today. What I really want to do today is I want to put him on the bike and then put Grogu on the bike with him. Basically recreating the scene after he's just picked Grogu up and taken him to Moff Gideon. So let's go ahead and put that pistol, that holdout blaster, into its holster there, that you see. And since he's going to be riding the speeder bike, we're going to need his handlebar grips for the hands. We're also going to need the aforementioned magnets. There's definitely a left and a right. There's no indication which is which, so I'm assuming that when I get to the underside of the bike that I'll be able to see which one goes where, but we'll get to that here in a moment. All right, so I'm gonna put this out of the way. I'm gonna put this out of the way for now. The rest of the hands that I don't need, I'm gonna pull them aside. Let's go ahead and swap those hands. All right, so that's good to go. Awesome. So let's go ahead and bring this bike over, and I'm gonna rotate it around. Now to start, I always found that it's best when you're putting a figure on a bike, before you actually try to put him on the bike, start forming your pose beforehand. Get it as close to being in that riding posture as you can. So in this case, we're gonna bend the legs at the knees. We're gonna bring them forward at the hips as much as we're able. Look at that, that's a pretty good, yeah, that's looking pretty good. I think at some point, I'm gonna wind up arching his back, but I can get to that later. Good, that's a good bit of play in that head, because we're gonna need that. This is very much a crotch rocket, not a Harley. You can differentiate the two styles, like the bike that Mando was riding, his swoop bike that he was riding, and the 74Z. Is it 74Z? I know I asked that earlier. Look, the blaster fell out, so we're just gonna save that for last. Yeah, by the way, this is how you tell that it's Mandalorian. On the Return of the Jedi one, those knee pads were swapped, as I recall. Somebody called that out at some point. So let's get him on there, just a basic pose. This is where the magnets are gonna come into play. Now, I've got him in this basic pose, but I'm gonna take him off long enough to study the bottom side of this. And it looks like, yeah. So what's gonna happen with these magnets is that the magnets are going to come into these holes in the foot plates, right? And the boots themselves on the Scout Trooper are magnetized. And we're gonna try to do this one obviously while it's still on the stand. Oops, that may not be a thing I can pull off. So I am gonna take it off the stand again and flip it over here, and it looks like, okay. Yeah, I had it backwards. The square bit goes towards the back. Apologies for that. When the things are upside down, I just continue to think like they're not. Yeah. So you can see that it's a really delicate process because there's a very small gap between these cables and the foot plate. But once you kind of get it in there, it was much easier the first time. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble this time. Huh, weird, okay. So now we've got magnets in there. So if you display the bike by itself, if you display the speeder bike by itself on its own, then you're gonna wanna take those magnet plates out of there because it's not screen accurate, I guess, with the magnets in there. And then once I get them on there, I can actually hopefully do some pretty cool things. And I've done this kind of thing before, again, with the sideshow bike. And it's a matter of making micro adjustments to the figure. And I actually have to get up at this point. And let's see, let's go ahead and move that arm forward. Move that arm forward. And you can see what I'm having to do here is I'm having to turn those arms in, those elbows, so that the arms point in. And I should probably have made some adjustments to the wrist pegs. I'm going to try that now. No, they're already where they need to be, mostly. So let's go ahead and really carefully, there we go. Get that back in. Man, if this is making anybody else nervous, I apologize for the stress that I'm creating for you here. But just keep in mind that these things are really, really delicate when you do this to your own. I'm trying to be careful here, so this could take some time. And I apologize for the fact that my arm's probably getting in the way, but I'm not about to contort myself and create a dangerous situation for the bike. All right. Whew. That's done. Okay, pose finished. Just kidding. All right, so I'm gonna look at this head on. Got to do a lot of futzing. So let's go ahead and get his legs spread more widely apart so that we can get him as close to the seat as possible. And that looks like that's gonna be it. All right. So that's there, that's there. Okay, so let's go ahead and futz with the legs a little bit more so we can bring the foot plates, rotate the foot plates back up to where they need to be. What's going on back here? Okay. Keep bending those legs. Eventually they will go into place. And you're gonna be very grateful that you have all this leeway with his boots, because that's gonna give you the opportunity to put the foot plates where they need to be. But man, it's just gonna be a constant process. I can see now that it's just gonna be a constant process of just moving around it and making, again, micro adjustments to try to get the figure exactly centered. Let's go ahead and get it back there as far as we can. And then again, get that leg up. Because we don't want those foot plates straight down. Hey, I did it. I got it. Look at that. Done and doner. Done and doner. Okay. So that's cool. But his posture is pretty cash. So I think I want to lean him forward a little bit more. Get that head up there. And then these will actually rotate. So we're going to push this one forward first. And then this one forward for following up. And get that more aggressive riding posture that I associate with people who are on crotch rockets. Bend that leg. And the more you can spread those legs out, the more likely you are to get his butt all the way down in the saddle, which is really the goal. And you can correct any apparent awkwardness by rotating those boots until they realign with the foot plates. I think that's got it. There it is. Yeah, let's get this out of the way so that you can see the full silhouette of it. Now, where I may have gone wrong is in not putting Grogu in the satchel hanging from his side first. So I didn't think this through. But you can see that you gotta, let's see. Yeah, okay. It's a fully functional bag. And so you're gonna have to undo the straps manually, so to speak, and just as you would if it was the real bag. One option might have been to have included like a Velcro connection like here. But Hot Toys being the consummate professionals that they are, they always strive for authenticity, and they've achieved that here in spades. Okay, so opening this up, look at that. You got a pillow in there. So that's gonna puff it up. Here it is. See what? Maybe I'm alone on this, but I'm seeing this and I'm like, oh, I need a nap. So let's get Grogu down in there. And it's a tight fit. A really tight fit. I think he doesn't actually have the satchel fastened when he's riding with Grogu. I think it's just meant to be hanging there loose. So let's go ahead and ruin my pose here by taking this hand off, this arm off. And then I can slide this shoulder over his head. Oh, that's not gonna go. All right, does this helmet pop off? I don't know that the helmet pops off. So I'm gonna have to raise the arm up over his head and do it this way. And voila. And then you can bring the arm back down and reattach it to the handlebars. This side of handlebars has a little square thing on there, so you can't just slide it in. You actually have to pry the fingers open. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this piece down here and kind of use that to support the satchel. Yeah, there it is. You see that? And then having the straps loose like that, it kind of makes it look like they're flapping in the wind. And that's actually pretty desirable, I think. Let's go ahead and just fidget with this. Once you get to this point, then it's all fine tuning to try to get this to work. So let's go ahead and get both legs up a little bit more. And then I'm gonna swing them both out and then stretch that up so that the feet will push down on the foot plates. Oh, you can move the plates. Well, that's a good idea. Probably should have seen that in the instructions. Okay, so with that, I can bring this guy around here. We got Grogu in the saddle. How's that look? Let's get that all the way in frame. Yeah. That's good. Oh, you can adjust these two. You can see that the angle isn't quite right on the ailerons. Yeah, cool. And yeah, rotate that around, and there it is, man. There's post number 1, speeder bike and scout. One thing that I neglected to do, and didn't even really notice until after I'd shot the entire video and was on the last photo that I took, was to adjust the position of the armor elements on the scout's bicep and forearm. You can see the correct placement in the second to last photo in this series. I call it out now to correct the record, but also to serve as an example of how important it is to have reference materials when you're posing, other than that on the figure's box art. With a figure like this, not only do you have to contend with the usual 30 plus points of articulation, you also have to remember that every piece of armor that's not locked down is, in essence, another point of articulation. And then you've got the bike, with multiple movable parts of its own. It's a delicate process, and perfecting even one pose can take a great deal of time. Just be patient and have a plan. Don't drink too much coffee, use small incremental movements, and keep your mind on your goal. With patience and practice, you'll get there. Here's the photo I took after adjusting the armor using the opening scene of the Season 1 finale as reference. You can see that the armor plates are in a much more appropriate position to absorb the impact from a crash. And that's it for this video. Let me know what you think of the figure in the comments below. I'm anxious to hear from you. And until next time, be good to your plastic. Hey, look at you. Made it to the end and everything. If you liked what you saw, poke me in the face with your mouse pointer and you'll be subscribed to the channel. If you're really hardcore, bang that notification bell and you'll be sure to be notified the next time a new video is posted. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.